In the heart of the icy north, a secret has long been whispered among those who wander the frozen lands. Deep beneath the swirling snow and glittering ice, an unusual bond was forged, a connection between a solitary polar bear and a lone wanderer. This was no ordinary friendship. The polar bear, with eyes reflecting a silent wisdom, met a human whose quiet strength defied the harsh cold. Together, they broke barriers that had kept ancient foes at bay, melting the icy walls of enmity that had stood for centuries. Their alliance was born not by chance, but by a shared need to survive in a world ruled by relentless winter and hidden dangers. As the biting wind carried tales of old and the Arctic ice murmured secrets of forgotten legends, one burning question emerged. How did this forbidden bond come to be, and at what cost? This is a story of a secret alliance that reshaped the frozen wilderness, a tale of courage, unity, and the power of connection in a realm where the cold seems unyielding. Long ago, when the world was a vast land of ice and snow, people spoke of a secret bond that tied humans and polar bears together. In the frozen wilderness of the North Pole, where the wind howled and the snow blanketed the land, the legend of the Northern Pact was born. It was a simple tale, passed down from one generation to the next, that told of a time when trust bridged the gap between man and beast. The story begins with a humble traveler who roamed the icy lands. His name has been lost to time, but the memory of his journey lived on. One bitter winter day, while the wind whipped around him, the traveler came upon a majestic polar bear. This was no ordinary bear. Its eyes shone with a soft light, and its thick white fur glimmered under the pale sun. In that silent moment, the traveler and the bear shared a look of understanding. It was as if they both knew that something rare and wonderful was about to happen. The elders of nearby villages had long spoken of a time when humans and polar bears would unite to protect the North Pole from any harm. They believed that this pact was made when the world was young, a time when nature and man were one. The bond was simple yet powerful, a promise to help each other survive the harsh cold and the dangers that lurked in the frozen wastes. This pact was not written in any book or stone. It lived only in the hearts of those who believed in its magic. Word of the traveler's encounter soon spread among the people. They began to see signs of the pact all around them. In the soft patterns left by the bear's paws on the snowy ground, in the gentle markings on ancient stones, and in the quiet hush of the icy winds, the Northern Pact whispered its secrets. Many believed that on cold, clear nights, if one listened closely, they could hear the faint echo of a bear's call, a call that carried the promise of unity and hope. In the years that followed, curious souls set out on journeys to find more evidence of the old alliance. They followed trails left by frost and listened to the murmurs of the snow. Every footprint and every gust of wind seemed to tell a story of that long-ago meeting between a kind man and a wise bear. These stories grew with each telling, weaving a tapestry of wonder that warmed even the coldest nights. The legend of the Northern Pact became a symbol of strength and togetherness. It was a reminder that even in the harshest of conditions, there could be moments of unexpected friendship and care. The simple truth was clear. When hearts are open, even the wildest of creatures can share a bond with a human, and together they can stand against the bitter cold and dark forces that threaten the land. For those who believe, the myth of the Northern Pact is not just an old tale. It is a call to remember that hope and unity can be found in the most unlikely places. It teaches that trust can melt even the strongest ice and that a small spark of connection can light up the long, dark winter. The next day, the traveler set out on a long, hard journey into the heart of the icy lands. The biting wind and deep snow made each step a challenge, yet his heart beat with the promise of uncovering more secrets of the old pact. With each mile, the cold grew sharper and the silence deeper. The traveler could feel that something waited for him beyond the next snowdrift, a presence that guarded the hidden truths of the north. As he moved further away from the familiar warmth of his village, the landscape shifted. Towering ice formations and endless fields of white stretched out before him. The path was not clear, and nature seemed to test his resolve at every turn. Frozen rivers blocked his way, and unexpected blizzards obscured his vision. In these harsh conditions, the traveler learned to trust his instincts, following the subtle signs left behind in the tracks of animals and the patterns in the snow. After many hours of trudging through the unforgiving cold, the traveler arrived at a place that felt different, a natural clearing encircled by giant ice walls. In the center stood a massive, solitary figure carved from ice and life. It was a frozen sentinel, a guardian as old as the legends themselves. The creature, a great polar bear with fur as white as the snow and eyes that shimmered with a deep, knowing light, stood motionless, as if waiting just for him. The air around the sentinel felt charged with a quiet energy. The traveler approached slowly, aware that one wrong step might break the fragile balance of this sacred meeting. Every sound was amplified in the stillness, from the crunch of his boots in the snow to the soft hum of the ice underfoot. The bear did not show any sign of fear or aggression. Instead, it met his gaze with calm certainty, as if inviting him into a world of secrets and ancient promises. Their meeting was a wordless exchange of trust and understanding. In that moment, the traveler realized that this was no mere animal. It was a living embodiment of the pact between humans and nature. The frozen sentinel was a keeper of old lore, a silent protector of the hidden alliance that once united two very different beings. With the bear standing tall and proud, the traveler felt the weight of many untold stories, each whispering on the wind and etched into the ice around them. Yet, the journey was far from over. The path ahead was fraught with danger. The traveler knew that the secret guarded by the frozen sentinel was not without enemies. Rumors had long whispered of those who sought to break the bond and steal the ancient wisdom for their own gain. Now, as he stood face to face with a majestic guardian, the threat of rival forces and unseen perils loomed ever larger. Every step from this point required care and courage. The traveler had to learn the language of the ice and the silent signals of the wild to move forward. The frozen landscape was both beautiful and treacherous, a maze of hidden pitfalls, sudden crevasses, and the constant watch of nature's guardians. With the frozen sentinel as his guide, he began to understand that the key to preserving the secret lay in respect and careful listening. As the wind whispered through the ice, the traveler took a deep breath. The bond between him and the frozen guardian was sealed by a quiet promise, a promise to protect the ancient alliance at all costs. With new determination, he stepped forward, ready to face the next challenge in the cold and mysterious realm. In the stillness of the frozen world, the traveler found that words were not needed to speak with the great polar bear. In this quiet place, a new kind of conversation began, a language made of glances, gentle movements, and shared moments of understanding. Every step they took together seemed to whisper secrets of the past, secrets that only the cold could keep. The polar bear looked deep into the traveler's eyes, as if sharing a memory that spanned many winters. Slowly, the traveler learned that the bear's calm nods, the tilt of its head, and even the way it shifted its weight were its words. When the bear rested its large paw on a patch of untouched snow, it was a signal, a word in a silent sentence. The traveler began to mirror these quiet gestures, finding that each action opened a window into the bear's world. In these moments, the icy wind seemed to pause. The traveler noticed that when the bear turned its gaze toward a distant shimmer on the horizon, it meant that something important lay ahead. Without a single spoken word, the traveler understood that he must follow, must uncover what the silent signals were trying to say. The bond between man and animal grew stronger with every shared look and quiet step into the unknown. Midway through the strained conversation, a soft reminder echoed in the vast, frozen silence. If you are drawn to the secrets of this ancient alliance, keep watching. Each small gesture between the traveler and the polar bear holds a hidden message waiting to be revealed. The journey of trust and shared silence is just beginning, and more secrets lie just around the bend. As the days passed, the traveler found that the bear's signals grew more complex. One crisp morning, the polar bear pawed gently at the soft snow in front of a narrow path between icy cliffs. The traveler knew this was no random act. It was an invitation. Together, they moved carefully along the path, where the snow sparkled like broken glass under the weak winter sun. Every twist and turn of the path was a part of the bay's silent story, a tale of danger and hope woven into the fabric of the land. The traveler began to notice that the bear would often stop near ancient, weathered stones covered in frost. In those moments, the air was heavy with the weight of history. The traveler leaned in and saw strange marks carved into the ice, symbols that spoke of old agreements and bonds that went back to the time when the world was young. The bear would press its broad head close to these markings, and the traveler felt as if the ice's symbols were speaking directly to him. It was as if the bear was reminding him of a promise made long ago, a promise that the heart remembers even when words are lost. In this silent exchange, the traveler learned that true understanding does not always come from spoken language. Sometimes, a shared look or a gentle touch can say more than any words ever could. The polar bear, with its steady eyes and soft gestures, became not only a guide but a friend, one who held the key to mysteries that had puzzled generations. Their quiet dialogue was a dance of trust and respect. The traveler realized that by learning this silent language, he was also learning to listen to the land itself. Every crunch of the snow underfoot, every whisper of the wind, and every distant howl of a wolf was a note in a grand, unspoken symphony. And in that moment, under the vast, icy sky, the traveler knew that this forbidden bond held the power to change everything. Just as the traveler and the polar bear began to understand each other, a new danger crept into their world. Dark figures emerged on the distant horizon, moving quietly against the blinding white. It was clear that they did not come in peace. These were rival explorers, driven by greed and a thirst for power. Their aim was simple: to break the ancient bond and steal the secrets that lay hidden in the frozen land. The traveler felt a chill far deeper than the cold. With each step, the sound of crunching snow grew louder, and the sense of danger tightened its grip around his heart. The polar bear, usually calm and steady, tensed as its eyes fixed on the shadowy shapes. Together, they understood that the threat was real. They had to act quickly before the dark figures closed in. As the traveler moved silently through the icy corridors, he saw the rival group in the distance. They wore heavy coats and carried tools that glinted under the pale light. Their voices, though low, carried over the wind, filled with plans and harsh words. It was not long before the explorers split into smaller groups, each taking a different path. This scattering made the threat unpredictable and more dangerous. The traveler and the polar bear exchanged a knowing look. There was no time for fear. They began to use the land as their ally, moving swiftly between hidden ice crevices and over snowy mounds. Every step was measured and careful. The traveler recalled the old teachings of the Northern Pact, where nature and man worked as one. Now, he would use that bond to outsmart those who wished to harm it. In the midst of the pursuit, the wind picked up, carrying whispers of old magic through the cold air. It was as if the land itself was warning them. The polar bear let out a low, steady growl, a sound that resonated with the spirit of the North. This growl sent a clear message. Those who came with ill intent would face the full fury of the frozen wilderness. The explorers, unaware of the depth of the ancient alliance, pressed on. They began to follow a narrow path that the traveler and the polar bear had once used to hide their secret meeting spot. The group moved with a mix of caution and arrogance, convinced that they could claim the secret as their own. But the icy ground was treacherous. One wrong step could shatter the fragile balance of nature that protected the ancient bond. As the traveler led the way, he felt the presence of the land growing stronger. Each gust of wind and every crack of the ice seemed to join in a silent warning. The polar bear, now fully alert, guided him away from danger with swift, precise movements. They turned suddenly, disappearing into a dense fog that rolled over the snowy plains. In that moment, the shadows of the rival explorers fell behind them, lost in the swirling white. Yet, the threat was not yet over. A strange sound, a mix of growls and distant, echoing cries, filled the air. It was as if the very ice was speaking, warning that this battle was only the beginning. The traveler's heart pounded with both fear and determination. He knew that the ancient pact was not merely a legend. It was a promise that must be protected, even at great cost. In the fading light of the Arctic, as the polar bear and the traveler found a brief safe haven, they prepared themselves for the next wave of danger. The alliance, once fragile, was now a powerful bond forged in the heart of the frozen wild. But the darkness from the shadows still lingered, promising further trials in a land where trust and unity were the only shields against the coming storm. The enemy pressed close, and the frozen world trembled with the weight of destiny. In that dire moment, the traveler saw that the ancient pact demanded a price. With rivals closing in, the polar bear stepped forward, its eyes filled with calm resolve. It was as if the bear knew that to keep the secret safe, one of them must stand alone against the darkness. The traveler's heart ached as he realized the bond they shared came with sacrifice. The polar bear lunged into the path of the enemy, creating a wall of ice and fury. Snow swirled as the bear fought to hold them off, every motion a silent promise to protect the ancient alliance. The traveler, caught between sorrow and determination, understood that this sacrifice was a key to keeping the pact alive. A soft, almost imperceptible reminder echoed from the land, a call to honor the gift of trust and unity. With a heavy heart, the traveler vowed to carry the secret, even as the polar bear vanished into a storm of ice, leaving him with both loss and hope. The icy winds carried with them not only memories of what was lost, but also murmurs of what was yet to come. In the quiet aftermath of sacrifice, the traveler stood alone amid the vast, frozen expanse, a land that held its secrets close, its silence heavy with unspoken promises. The absence of his steadfast companion, now a fading legend etched into the frost, left a void that the chill of the Arctic could not entirely explain. As the twilight deepened into a mysterious indigo, subtle changes began to stir. A soft luminescence emerged from beneath a sheet of ancient ice, hinting at hidden depths and untold stories. The traveler's breath formed small, fleeting clouds as he moved cautiously toward the strange glow. Each step revealed more of a landscape transformed by the bay's final act, a silent tribute to an alliance that defied time. It was as if the very earth remembered the vow of unity, and in its quiet resilience, it beckoned him to look deeper. A barely perceptible vibration ran through the ice beneath his feet, a rhythm that resonated with his own heartbeats. In that charged moment, a thought crossed his mind, a spark of realization that the ancient pact was not confined to the past. The echoes of the frozen alliance, like fragments of a half-remembered dream, suggested that forces beyond mortal comprehension were at work. Was the sacrifice merely the beginning of a larger, even more perilous journey? If you are drawn to the mysteries hidden beneath the layers of ice and time, the unfolding saga is far from over. In the distance, an enigmatic shimmer and a soft, almost imperceptible hum promised that more secrets lay dormant, waiting to be revealed by those brave enough to venture into the unknown. And as the traveler pressed onward, the Arctic night whispered a final, lingering question. What other truths lie buried in the frozen depths, and at what cost will they be uncovered?